Moving to learning objective for chapter 7. At the end of the lecture, students should be able to explain the role of training in supporting expatriate adjustments and on assignments performance, and then state the components of the effective pre-departures training programs such as culture awareness, preliminary visits, and a language skill, as well as relocation assistance and a training for trainers. After that, they will be able to describe the process of re-entry and repatriations, and also able to explain various factors that affect re-entry and work adjustments. And then last, I hope students able to identify multinational enterprise response to the repatriation concerns. Okay, indications of the importance of training and developments, and they increase the number of multinationals that have established their own universities or schools. Motorola, McDonald's, and Oracle and Disney University are examples of this in-house training center. Several European companies and Japanese and also Korean firms have similar arrangements for this. For example, they have Lufthansa School of Business. In Malaysia, we have University Petronas and Petronas Training Center for Skills, and Institute Technology Petroleum, Petronas in STAB, under Petronas, and University Tenaga Nasional, UNITEN, and TMB Integrated Training Solution ILSAS under Tenaga Nasional, and Multimedia University under Telekom Malaysia. Aware of the importance of the training and developments. An indication of the importance of the training and developments has increased the number of multinational enterprises that have established their own universities and schools. Introductions. The international assignment itself is an important training and development tool. Expatriates are trainers as a part of transferable of knowledge and competence between various units. A major rationale for the use of the international assignments where explicit or explicit states they are expected to assist multinational enterprise train and develop home company that is about train their replacements. And expatriates are expected to ensure that system and the process are adopted, and eventually they will be engaged in showing how these system and the process work, as well as monitoring the effective performance of home company. One of the reasons for the international assignments is for management developments. A move into another area internationally is one of the job rotations. That is a useful way that help employees to gain a broader perspective. It also assists in developing capable people who form their required pool of global operators, as discussed earlier chapter. Component of effective pre-departure training programs. We start with the culture awareness programs. A well-designed culture awareness program fosters an appreciation of the host country culture so that expatriates can behave accordingly or at least develop appropriate coping patterns. The component of culture awareness programs vary according to the country of assignments, durations, purpose of the transfer, and the providers such programs. There are 5 pre-departure trainings such as Culture Assimilator, culture training, sensitivity training, didactic training, and a field experience. Therefore, the way in which a multinational enterprise anticipate and provide suitable training for international assignments is an important first step. This is reflected in the growth of the interest in and provision of pre-departure training to prepare expatriates and accompanying family members for their international assignments. The International Training and Development Process. Figure 7.1 is a systematic representation of international training and development process. It shows the link between international recruitments and selections and the training and development activities in the organizations. Most expatriates are internal hires, select from within multinational enterprise existing operations. Training focus on employee developments. If they hire internally, training focus on employee developments. However, as indicated by dotted arrow in figure 7.1, some expatriates may be hired externally for international assignments. So for this kind of expatriate company provide pre-departure training activities. They are mainly concerned with developing culture awareness. We will now consider the various elements related to expatriate training developments in the context of managing and supporting international assignments. 5 essential components of pre-departure trainings that are culture awareness training, preliminary visit, language instructions, assistance with practical day-to-day matters, and security briefings. Here I provide a link for example of pre-departure programs. So you can click this link to get more info about pre-departure programs. Do you know that the successful of the implementing the overseas assignments does not solely depend on technical expertise. It also depends on technical issues such as ability to interact with the colleagues at work, adaptability to the new work environments, and openness to the local culture. If you fail to adapt with the colleagues, a new work environments, and you cannot accept the local culture, it contributes to the failure of the overseas assignments. For the empirical findings of Malaysia's researcher in 2014 found that 5% out of 65 respondents Malaysian expatriates are failed to complete their overseas assignments due to unable to adapt with the colleges at work, adaptability, and difficult to understand the local culture. Component of effective pre-departure training programs. Still on culture awareness programs. Well-designed culture awareness programs foster an appreciation of the host country's culture so that expatriates can behave accordingly or at least develop appropriate coping patterns. The components of culture awareness programs vary according to country of the assignments, durations, purpose of the transfer, and the provider of the programs. There are 5 categories of pre-departure training, such as culture assimilators, language training, sensitivity training, didactic training, and a field experience. Research into this area revealed that large number of U.S. multinationals has been reluctant to provide pre-departure training programs. This is because of U.S. company did not believe that pre-departure training was very necessary or effective to their employee. And the results from the research found that US multinational company use very less frequency on the pre-departure training program compared to European and Japanese firms. If we look into the percentage of frequently used, US only own 32% of the frequently used pre-departure training programs, and Europeans at 69% use of the pre-departure training programs, and Japanese firms found to have a 57% frequently used on training programs. Components of effective pre-departure training programs continue with culture awareness programs. Training should be more oriented to lifelong learning than one should program with an area-specific focus. There should be more emphasis on provisions of foreign language training, and there should be emphasis on the level of communication competence, not just verbal communications, because in communications, verbal communication consists only 30% and non-verbal communications consists of 70%. So not just concerned on verbal communication only. So the persons should become a bicultural and bilingual, which enable an easier translation between one culture to another. Cross-cultural training assists in managing diversity. This preview of expatriate positions should be realistic as this facilitates effective performance in the organization. Components of effective pre-departure training programs. We continue on culture awareness programs. If the expected level of interaction is low and the degree of similarity between individuals' home culture and the host culture is high, then the length of the training could probably less than a week to provide appropriate level of training rigors. Training methods will emphasize on information giving approach, for example, provide area or cultural briefings. And then, so what is a cultural briefings? Cultural briefings, that is a program that assists assignee or employee, those who have to go for international assignments, and their family to understand, respect, and appreciate their new home culture. Culture briefing also help to provide effectively negotiate their way through culture difference, more confidently and quickly adapt and integrate with the new communities. And culture briefing also help significantly reduce and challenge and stress of assimilations. Another way to provide training is a culture, movie and books related with the host country culture. And also they can use interpreters if difficult for new assigner to understand a host country language, they can use interpreter. It depends on the level of a new assigner itself. And then survival level language training. Survival level language trainings enable employee or assignee to enjoy daily life by learning minimum level of foreign language. Foreign language here refer to the language in the host country that they will enter. For example, Japanese, French, and Arabic. Let's say you are enter Japan country. So this survival learning could help you understand Japanese language in the following areas. They provide you a simple greeting language, some language about how to introduce yourself, several work and conversation for shoppings and ordering or payment at the restaurant, and also provide several language or conversation that's commonly used for expressions for train and taxi. Component of effective pre-departure training programs, we still continue on culture awareness programs. If the individual is work for a foreign location for a period of 2 to 12 months, there is expected to have some interactions with the members of the host culture. So the level of the training rigor should be higher than the length of the training longer. So training should be at least 1 to 14 weeks. So what kind of the training methods suitable for them? The training method will emphasize the effective approach. For example, role playing. Role playing is an active learning technique which employees act out situations under the guidance of the trainer. In each scenario, employees take a role or act out of the scenes of as a truth is were real. And then critical accidents. Okay, through the critical accidents, it can be defined as a threat to the operations, safety or reputation of the organization with the element of surprise and unpredictability, necessity, rapid and effective decision making is required for that particular situations. And then culture assimilator training. If you want to know more about culture assimilator training, you can click link that I provide in this slide. It will link you to the more detailed information about culture assimilator training, and the case study also will be helpful to assignee in their international assignments. And then stress reduction training and moderate language training will help them to familiarize themselves in the international organizations. Component of effective pre-departure training programs, culture awareness programs continue. If the individual is going to a fairly novel and different host culture, then the expected degree of the interaction is high. The level of the training rigor should be higher, and the training should be for 2 months or longer. So training method will emphasize on the emotion approach. For example, assessment center refer to a process where candidates are examined to determine their suitability for specific type of employments, especially in management or military commands. Field experience. Field experience refer to learning activity completed outside of the college classrooms that correlate to supplements the content being taught in academic courses and or programs or program of the study. Okay, simulations. Simulation training is the creation of the true to the life learning environments that mirror real life work and the scenario. For example, air traffic control simulations involve reproducing real life flight scenario which include runway takeoff, air scenes, and also weather conditions. Sensitive training. Sensitive training refer to one of the organization development training with thought counseling methods works on increasing employee well-being, self-awareness of an individual's own prejudice and sensitivity to others. Interculture website based workshop also help, and intensive language training also help for international assignments. Moving to components of effective pre-departure training programs. Now we talk about preliminary visits. So what is preliminary visits? So why is importance for international assignments? Okay, first point here, a potential problem arises if the aim of the preliminary visits is twofold, a part of the selections decisions and a part of pre-departure trainings, where multinational enterprise use the preliminary visits to allow the assignees and the spouse to make a more informed decisions about accepting the overseas assignments. It should be used solely for that purpose, not for traveling purpose. Combined with the culture awareness training, the preliminary visit is a useful component of pre-departure programs. Components of effective pre-departure training programs continue. Continue on language training and practical assistance. Language training, that is the role of English as the language of the world business. We concern on English because of English is the world language. Sometimes we use Japanese, sometimes we use Chinese language. They have many accents on Chinese. We use Arabic, but the most preferred language at the international level are English. And the host country language skill and adjustments and knowledge of the corporate language. Language training respondents indicate that the ability to speak the local language, regardless how different the culture was to their home country, was as important as culture awareness in their ability to adapt and perform on the assignments. Knowledge of the host country language can assist expatriate and family members gain access to the new social support structure outside of the works and their expatriate community. Language skills are therefore important in terms of task performance and culture adjustments. For practical assistance, HR support was found to matter most in the first weeks or months because most stressors were related to the settling rather than new jobs. Includes all manner of support for both before and during assignments. For example, preparing official paper or visa and shipping assignees goods to the host country. Component of effective pre-departure training programs continue. In this slide, we have security briefings. Security briefing is necessary as expatriates increasingly relocate to locations where personal safety may be a concern, thus present increased and unfamiliar threats to their health, safety, and security. Risks and threats to expatriates range from the hostile political environments such as terrorism, kidnapping, hijacking, Cold War, and it could be national disaster, exposure to disease such as pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, SARS, a flu, and anything else, travel accidents, and another common travel problems such as scheduling delay, flight delay, transportation delay, and passport problems. Security plans include evacuation procedures, assignment tracking system, ongoing system briefing, and continuous improvement on overall security in all risk locations. We continue on components of effective pre-departure training programs. Now we move to training for the training rule. Expatriates are used for training because of lack of suitably trained staff in the host locations. One way multinational companies can improve the quality and content of the training offered to expatriates in the role of training host country nations, as their replacement would be would be to utilize the knowledge transfer process when expatriates are repatriates. Effective knowledge transfer occurs. There is a fit between individual readiness to transfer knowledge and organizational receptivity to knowledge. Component of effective pre-departure training programs continue. TCN, third countries, nation been transferred to another subsidiary or divisions, and from HCN, host country nations, repatriate transfer into the parent country operations. That is often short terms, project-based assignments, or for management development purpose. Given the general low level of the provision of pre-departure training to the traditional expatriates, it is not surprising to find that those in a short-term and non-standardized assignment receive a little or no preparation before departure. A culture adjustment is inherent in international staff transfer. For international business travelers, they are flying into or out of the foreign operations, performing a myriad of tasks, including training. For example, they fly to to other countries for explaining new product developments or service or process. The effectiveness of the cultural training was somewhat weaker than expected due to limited data, as a few organizations systematically evaluate or validate the effectiveness of their training programs or make them available to public. The use of mix of different training methods made evaluation of this method is most effective difficult to isolate. The large diversity in cultures that expatriates face also contribute to ineffectiveness in comparing the result of the pre-departure training programs. And then interactive between individual difference between expatriate and the work environments they face. What works for one person may not work for another. Thus, the effect of the cross-cultural training can be as diverse as the country which the expatriates are assigned. Here are additional references on how to create effective cross-cultural training programs and help expatriate employees deal with the culture shock. For more information, please click this link. That's all from me for Chapter 7, Part 1. Thank you very much and have a nice day.